This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
It's the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast.
We're old school, right? We wash our own dirty laundry.
The name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back.
I refuse to be judged by a grown man wearing a hockey jersey.
Game on!
Game on!
We are back. Another Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast, episode 55. Wade, Justin, new guest of the night, Kyle, a big fan and collector of the Buffalo Sabers and minor league affiliates. So we'll get gonna have him on discussing the equipment sale from a couple weeks ago, all that good stuff. So welcome, Kyle.
Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Big time listener, and I appreciate you guys' comments on the hobby.
Appreciate it. It's hey, we have a good time with it, as you've seen, and now you're being a part of, so it makes it more exciting. Not a ton of things going on around the league, the hobby this week. First of all, do want to mention, of course, my weekly old fashioned this week, drinking mixed with Bardstown, which is, they call it a fusion bourbon. It's different aged bourbons of different years. So they pour them all together. It's actually a really good one. Bardstown has a whole line of stuff. I think it's available throughout the Midwest and other areas. Justin, I don't know if you can get it up your way or not.
Don't know. I was just drinking my Rush beer, so that's what I've had to drink tonight.
Hey, not a bad thing. And Wade's probably got his Dr. Pepper. And then
Sponsorship
Kyle,
available?
there you go. Kyle, have you got anything in particular you like to drink?
Just the water.
Hey, you know what? Nothing wrong with that either. Do also want to plug our first sponsor we've had. And again, if dealers or other people do want to sponsor this show in any way, reach out to one of us. We can work deals on that. But Mitch, with the Drink Your Face Off line of clothing and bottle openers, the puck bottle openers are awesome. I use this a ton with opening. My son loves different gourmet sodas, and a lot of those are not twist off, so it gets definitely gets his work out. Justin, you have an expo date coming up, or know of one very shortly.
I am looking forward to seeing the usual suspects in Winnipeg for the gathering, is what Pat is going to be calling it. It's going to be in August 24th, I believe, and smaller group than the main card and collectors expo that takes place in March, but it's usually a pretty good time. Get to see a lot of the collections that have evolved over the year, and Pat does a really good job in door prizes and making sure it's a pretty lively meeting. So smaller scale, but looking forward to driving up in 2 weeks and seeing the usual suspects, and probably coming back with way too many Jets jerseys on my way home. But
hey, if you can get some deals or things like that, I asked Pat if he's got any reasonably priced practice jerseys. I always like when me skating out or playing goalie, it's nice. Those are nice to just wear on the ice because they hold up so well. So I'll rock all kinds of teams for that kind of stuff. I don't care at all. A little bit of future collecting news, and I know this actually, Justin, interests you a little bit because you purchased some past ones and different things. The PWHL earlier this year announced Bauer will be doing the jerseys. They're their jersey partner, doing also their shirts and things like that. They also announced, in not a locked-in date yet, but in September, the 6 WPHL team names and logos will be announced. Redesigned jerseys, the expanded partnership with Bauer. They will unveil it close to the start of the 24-25 season, which means it'll probably get leaked before then. But I know a lot of people, and we talked about it, covered it on the show, was the jerseys were very plain, but they wanted to get them out there to get that season rolling. So I think a lot of people may be excited in what comes out of these, the team names, the designs, things like that. So I'm actually excited to see, and be curious to see what the physical jerseys look like and what the material feels like with Bauer doing the jerseys. I remember the old school, the IHL and AHL, those Bauer jerseys were so heavy. Yeah. I know that won't be the case, but it'll be interesting to see how they do the designs this time around.
And I'm really curious to see their specialty jersey plans as well. The league prior to this one always did a lot of advocacy through their specialty jerseys, and this bidding didn't get that high on that many of them, but I'm definitely interested to see the Minnesota team and what they end up coming out with. Just because at that level, the players often have a lot of these connections to the causes that they're supporting. So I hope that they continue it and it doesn't go too corporate in terms of just being afraid to embrace some of these causes they've done. Like, I mean, some of the veteran and military jerseys out of that league were awesome. So I hope they keep it up.
Yeah, and I know that so often those always seem to make a lot just because of whatever charity it is. It seems to draw a lot of people toward them. I mean, we've seen it in the lower minor leagues, SPHL, ECHL, and even AHL. Those specialty ones can go for insane money. So hopefully the PWHL does the same. And after I thought was a solid first season and some issues with some of the internal workings of teams and stuff, but the overall league stuff seemed to go very well and seemed to draw well. So let's hope it continues for season number 2. So one final thing before we cover Kyle and all his information from going to the Buffalo Sabers equipment sale is this Saturday, the Detroit Red Wings sale from 10 to 6. So hopefully there'll be some pictures posted online between the groups, good stories shared. And if anybody is, I don't know if they're standing in line earlier, things like that, reach out to us afterwards. Like to definitely have somebody on and get coverage. I know Paul has some people out there that will be picking up stuff for him. Paul had some things come up tonight, so he's not joining us on the show. We miss him and see him back next week. But hope we'll definitely have some decent coverage on that. But the Buffalo Sabers sale, we seen some pictures through a few different people, seen some pricing and stuff. But Kyle, kind of give us the rundown of the sale, what time, the details, what time you got there, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, so I probably should preface it by explaining the whole ticket situation and walking you guys through that. So they sent an email about 2 weeks before the sale, basically to season ticket holders and to non-season ticket holders. Season ticket holders got the 11 o'clock spot, and the regular general public got 12, 1, or 2, believe it or not. And I believe those tickets went pretty quick because when I was looking before the sale, they were already sold out. Yeah, and the interesting thing too is someone from the Sabres contacted me before the sale, and they were asking me what I was looking for. I thought they were trying to sell me some season tickets or half season tickets, but they were calling me before, like looking to see what I was looking for at the sale, which is kind of interesting too.
Did do you know why that seems very odd?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. I thought they were trying to sell me some season tickets, but they were asking me what I was looking for at the sale, what kind of players I was interested in. But yeah, I don't know why. It's
And if any other collectors got that phone call, let me know. I've not heard of that from any team. I don't know, Wade, Wade, you and I both deal with the Blues. We know that's not happened there. Justin, I don't know if you've heard it with anybody, but that just seems like such a weird thing.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was with that, but yeah.
Now, do you deal with the group that manages their game worn stuff on a regular basis where they know you pretty well, or was it just really a cold call?
I think it was just a cold call, to be honest with you. Yeah.
That's weird.
Did you know of anybody else that got the call?
A few other collectors did, but they weren't season ticket holders like myself, so it could have been just that too.
Or maybe I wonder if they were going off like a list of stuff that like for people that have purchased stuff through. Do they sell those through their auctions, or how do they normally sell their stuff?
Yeah, through NHL auctions. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm wondering if because they have that information of people that bought from them in the past, and they have their address, but that's still other collectors let us know if that happened to you. It's just and if you ask them questions of, hey, why are you calling? Why are you asking? This is just kind of blows me away. It's not something I've ever heard happening.
Yeah. And the other thing too is the email that got sent to us wasn't advertised as an equipment sale. It was basically an open house, select your seat through season tickets, and like a tour of the locker room and stuff. So it wasn't even branded as like an equipment sale per se, but all the people were there were for the equipment sale.
That's
How many people? How many people were there? And I know you mentioned what time you got there. What time did the line start?
Yeah, so we got there probably around like 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning for 11 o'clock spot. Which in hindsight was kind of dumb because there's only 10 of us until around 10 o'clock. So
Wade sounds like you and I when we did the Blues one this year.
Yeah, we've done that before. Don't worry, you're not the first.
Yeah.
and there was probably like 100 people, I would say, before the 11 o'clock spot.
Wow.
Yeah. But what we didn't know is too that their corporate sponsorships also got tickets out for a 10 o'clock spot, but we didn't see a lot of people come out through the doors with those tickets. And they didn't look like the kind of fans that would normally go after that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
They're
not
like,
game
like
collectors.
older people and like kids with their dads and stuff. So
And we saw some of that when the Blues did it as employees and families. And I mean, a lot of, again, they didn't have a ton of equipment or especially jerseys, didn't have any. It was a lot of all the shirts and that kind of stuff that people were buying. And you did see a lot of that come out the door, a little bit of sticks, but not surprising. And we all get that is the corporate sponsors or the employees should get that benefit. And we're not going to bash it, but
yeah.
just sometimes what they're picking out isn't even what we care about.
Yeah, and we also found out too that the full-time employees got their pick at the Thursday before.
Oh, geez.
There
So
was
they
that
had
too.
stuff set up early. And this was in the concourse of the arena.
Yeah, it was like halfway the 100 level concourse. So we had a little walking to do when we got in there.
Sounds like the Blues. You got to walk around all the way to the backside of the arena, get your exercise in before you get started.
Yeah. We promised each other we wouldn't run, but some of us ran.
Funny how that seems to happen.
Yeah.
So you guys are chilling out there a while, and they finally get the doors open. When you round the corner, as it were, what was the setup like?
It was just two metal scanners. We had to show our tickets, and they scanned them in, and then we just walk up the escalators to the first 100 level.
And
so
then
they had a pretty nice system. It went quick. Yeah, they had a pretty nice system there. It went pretty quick with everything getting in there.
And we've seen that year to year, and other people feel free to share this with how your teams do it. Some year we've had the Blues, they've had the metal detectors on. You had to go through them. This past year, they didn't. So they had security by the door, but they did not have the metal detectors on. So it's been every year's different with that.
It was also hot as hell in there too. They didn't have air on or anything.
Oh.
So we were all dripping at the end.
Oh, geez.
When I went to the Griffin sale this year, it was a tiny room for the number of people that were in it. And it was right before a game. And I walked out there, I was drenched in sweat because it was just so many people in such a small space. And I don't know.
Doing it right before a game like that would be really difficult for the logistics.
Absolutely.
So you got through security okay, and just the lights shine down and you see all the jerseys and everything when you get in there?
Yeah. There's a bunch of sticks. I'm sure you've seen the pictures of the sticks, that whole rack. They're mainly Rochester guys, pro stock, unused sticks, stuff like that. Really no big names. It looked like it had been picked through, to be honest with you. There wasn't a whole lot of big names in there, to be honest with you. And then they had you've probably seen the picture of the Made in Canada jerseys that they had, the goat heads, the heritage, and then the royal home and away.
Yeah, all the blanks. Yeah, they had a crap ton of those.
Yeah, those went.
What was the price point on those?
The 150 for the Made in Canada ones. Yeah,
that's not bad at all.
Yeah, I know a lot of the Authentics groups people were posting about getting those and talking about who to send them to get them lettered and all that. And again, if you want a pro level jersey, a fan jersey for it, that's a hell of a way to get them at $150. You can't touch those in a lot of team sales. So
yeah, and they still had the royal home and away left over after. I'm not sure if you've seen the Sabers group.
Yeah, I think didn't they bump them up to 190?
Yeah, 190.
So, okay, yeah. I thought that's what I saw. So as far as player jerseys and stuff, did they have quite a bit in that area?
They didn't have any player jerseys per se. Like they had a bunch of like training cap jerseys. If you know what those look like.
Oh, yeah, the practice style, just number.
Yeah, the heat press numbers in the back and everything. Yeah, those. Sorry.
Oh, I ended up getting one for a friend of mine who's out in this general direction, and he was out there and grabbed me one. I was like, "Thank you so much," just to get it at a good price. And uh, in my case, I was able to get one with a name on the back of a guy who had played here where I live now. So really stoked. I mean, $50 for a player's name on back, even for a practice jersey, camp jersey is you can't go wrong.
Yeah. There's a lot of big names in there too. I saw.
That's awesome.
So that pretty much, and assuming they have some gloves and helmets and stuff like that too.
No helmets. They did have used and brand new gloves. They had some weird items too, like shoulder pads. They had the old S19 Easton brand new shoulder pads. Not sure why they still had those.
I know some of the older guys still like wearing some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. Somebody posted a player's stick the other day, and the code for the stick was S19 because they wanted that set up, the pattern, the whole 9 yards. That's his actual stick code. Can't remember what player it was, but some of those guys like that old crap, and the teams hoard it, and then when they leave, then that's when it shows up.
Yeah. They had a bunch of clothing too, like the Sabers, like the authentic pro stuff from Fanatics they had tons of that stuff too, like shorts, compression stuff. So if you're into hockey and you play hockey regularly, that's pretty good for you to get.
Oh yeah, that's always fun stuff to pick up. I've found some of the blue stuff actually at discount clothing stores in St. Louis, but it was Fanatics branded, all their underclothes, and that stuff's expensive to buy, but picking it up that way or at an equipment sale is super cheap. So overall, kind of give us a rundown of what was some of the pricing of the different things.
Yeah, I forget what I sent you. I was on my head the first time. I think the gloves were 100 new and 75 for the used pairs. The main and Cannon jerseys for 150. I think practice jerseys between 50 and 75. All the sticks new or used were $100. There's just a bunch of random stuff there too. Like they had the BioSteel water bottles and coolers there. You could pick up. Those were worth like $1 or $2 for those bottles. I'm trying to think what else.
And see, like those kind of things I would pick up because again, I play and
Right.
I would have so many extras, like even just to give the guys I skate with on a regular basis, because that's a cheap, easy gift. Everybody always needs a water bottle or an extra when they're playing. Those are kind of things that are just nice to pick up, especially so cheap. Because when I go to the sporting goods store here for like the Gatorade ones, they're 12 and $15 a piece.
Yeah.
Skates and goalie equipment. What were the prices in that?
The goalie pads were $400.
Holy hell.
Yeah, just for the pads. I'm
That's
not
cheap.
sure.
That is cheap as shit.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the gloves and the blocker went for, but the pads were 400. Yeah.
God, you could get a full. I mean, let's say even if if the glove and the blocker's 200 a piece, $800 for a full goalie setup. That's a steal.
Yeah. I think skates too are $100 used, 150 new, I believe. Is that
God
what
sake.
you said? Yeah.
Again, another thing that's and the Blues this year, I was even surprised. Every pair of skates they had sold the night. I know they had more for the second day, but the night Wade and I were there, they were gone by the time we finished up. And that's a lot of what it is they set up an area people can try them on, or anymore if you're no pro stock stuff, can if the footbeds in it or not, look inside there. The code in there usually has what the size is.
Yeah.
Or if you're familiar with the skater, you may know what size. But I mean, when those skates are $1,000, yeah, that's a fantastic price.
Right. And they had like brand new runners too, and it's still in the packaging for like $1.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
But none of them are my size though, so didn't look on that.
Yeah, I wear between a 7.5 and an 8 in skates, and it's hard because there's not many guys that are that small. I've lucked out with a few and checking with Paul and stuff with other teams, but yeah, it's hard if you're not in that kind of average size for NHL skaters.
Yeah. Yeah, just a bunch of random stuff too. Like they had like issued 07, 08 Eastern Conference Finals pucks, skate bags, skate mats, anything like that.
God,
So,
some of the 07, 08 pucks. What the hell are you holding on to those so long for?
That's wild.
and I have no idea. They're not used, they're just brand new, but still it's cool to have.
Oh yeah.
that back when Buffalo was in the playoffs at one point?
Yeah.
Well, I wonder because and I know this is not uncommon, but there's a local school where I live, and they just set the equipment at such a low price at these garage sales because it's just sitting there taking up space to the point where they pay to get rid of it. I mean, like brand new shoes, brand new, workout shirts, compression shorts, all those things that at a certain point, it's got to be the same thing with these NHL teams where it's almost worth to take a loss just to get it out of your storage. Like some of these random things like shoulder pads and BioSteel bottles. I'm sure for Buffalo, they're probably just happy to get rid of it.
Yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't a limit on anything because people were grabbing a ton, but it wouldn't make sense if there was a limit too. But
and we've seen that year to year.
Limits.
Hey, knows no limits.
Yeah. Blues got me a couple times on the limit thing, so
I'm sure if you bought the whole rack of your jerseys, they'll probably say something to you.
Yeah.
All you say is, "Hey, I'm setting up my beer league team to play, and we needed matching jerseys."
Yeah.
So, I mean, was it? I know when I talked to you after the sale, you said it was just crazy busy. How many people did they just let like your whole group in one after another after they got through security?
I'm not sure how many people were let in at one time, but they were definitely counting people before you got in there. But I'm not sure the exact number on that.
And then they just kind of everybody flooded in. Was it pretty spaced out or was it pretty tight where they had you guys set up?
No, it was pretty spaced out. I mean, you had like the chairs around the skate section so people could try on the skates. But yeah, it was for the most part, pretty spaced out. But they definitely wouldn't let anybody in because we were the 11 o'clock spot, but they wouldn't let anybody in with the 12 o'clock spot before 12 o'clock. So we had a good amount of time to look through everything.
Now, did you feel like that gave you enough time through that area?
Yeah, definitely. No one was rushing anybody to get out of there and check out. But we took our time and looked through everything that we could.
I know a lot of stuff was left over too, at least by what things we've seen pop up in the Buffalo group and others, and now some of the stuff has hit both eBay, sideline swap, things like that. Some of the pricing not terrible off what it originally was, and some other stuff kind of insane. Like, what do you happen to know what the price of the bags were?
Which bag?
The player bags.
Oh, like I think they're like $10 or $15.
Wow.
Skate bags. Yeah.
Like, or the full, like the bags the players put equipment in.
Oh, I didn't see any equipment bags. No, I just saw some skate bags there. I picked up a few.
And those are always handy. I've got a couple of those too, just because I always forget to put my skate guards on in my bag, so I always remember to put them in there. Any other issues or post sale problems you saw?
No, not really. I mean, everything was pretty cool there. We all got what we wanted, and I expected a lot more, to be honest with you. Like I said, it looked picked over, to be honest. The next time I wish I brought like a big bag because some guys had like a big like player's bed they could just throw stuff in there. And I was just carrying around everything with with my arms.
We see it IKEA bags all the time since there's one down the road from the Blues arena. So everybody, then you can't mistake it for people hiding stuff. You can't miss a bright blue IKEA bag. And I've tried to kind of keep an eye on your group and some of the others. Have you seen any major issues or complaints after?
Not that I can tell. Maybe that people would get in there earlier and have an earlier time slot, but that's just how it goes. And if you're a season ticket holder, if you know someone, then it works out that way. But other than that, I don't think so.
Now, and I've talked to a couple collectors reach out to me just saying and again, it's like anything else. People go buy stuff, either buy more than what they expected to buy it to resell it immediately, whatever. And I know some people are upset about the immediate 4 or 5 times what everybody was selling for at the equipment sales. So have you had any issues with that yourself, or had people reach out to you saying, look at what people are asking for stuff, or has it been pretty quiet in your neck of the woods?
No, it's been pretty quiet. I mean, I brought, like I told you, I brokered some jerseys from another
Sure.
guy that was out of town just to help them out, and they gave me some on top. So I was pretty happy with
No, and
that.
and I find that totally expected is hey, if you're because Wade and I get messages and stuff and said, hey, if you're doing that, and I've had people kick 15 or 20, depending on what an item is, 15 or 20 bucks extra. Hey, you're down there, you did the work and all that stuff. And usually I don't, if they want to offer it, great. I don't expect anything, but it's always a nice gesture as a collector. But it's nice that you offered that to people and they took care of you like that. Anything you'd like to see change wise between this year and next year's sale?
Um, Not much to be honest with you. I mean, I wish that we didn't have to wait out there till 7 o'clock in the morning, but other than that, I mean, it went pretty smoothly, to be honest with you.
Now, was it a lot of guys that you knew that were out that early?
Yeah, I knew everyone at 7 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
But again, as we've talked on past shows and things like that, is connecting with other collectors. That's part of what makes it fun is getting out there early and just catching up and BSing and like Wade and I did, where we were met some people we didn't know were there just to either get equipment or whatnot and got to hear some cool stories. But then also as it got closer and the Blues released their run through quick video, we were all using like the Zapruder film method to break down, seeing what the prices were, seeing what they had, all this kind of stuff. But that's the fun part of the hobby, that even if you end up going in and not buying anything, you've had an awesome time hanging out with other collectors.
Yeah, we all had plans to like, oh, what you're gonna get or what I'm gonna get, but that all went out the window once we saw what was left.
Yeah, and that's hard too, especially if in the case of your guys' stuff, if they didn't put any pictures or any media out ahead of time, you're going in blind and you hope for these things. And if it's not, well, then you may pick up helping somebody else get stuff or carry things or whatever. Because we even did that in line is, hey, what are you looking for? Okay, great. It's not stuff that I care about. I'll try and grab it if I pass it before you or whatnot. And it's just it's a team effort.
Well, and for new collectors, I remember, was it 13 or 14, one Jeff Burge, Sabers and Amerks collector. He took me to the Amerks garage sale, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know why people were there at like 6 in the morning trying to get it. And couldn't believe when people were carrying out seemingly like double handfuls of stuff. But it was at that event with Jeff where, like you said, Doc, you just kind of, you're learning, you're shooting the breeze with everyone. You're trying to figure out, what do you want? What am I collecting? And for new collectors, it kind of blows your doors off a little bit to sit there and watch like all that happen. But it's also very educational because you are able to learn from people who have been there for a long
Sure.
time. And I look back, I mean, oh, what I wouldn't do to go back in time 10 years ago to go back to that garage sale. But it's, you learn and you meet and make friends that who eventually go on to living in different parts of the country.
And you're right about that. Is if you've not been to one or you go to a different teams, maybe it is sensory overload. You walk in and it's like, okay, my plan is this, and your brain just completely forgets all of it. But it is so fun, and like God, and when we talked about Wade and I talked about when we covered the Blues one, we were there we got there at noon. Doors opened at what, 5:30.
Yeah.
And we were some of the last ones to leave because we got our stuff and then kind of found a corner, and then him and I would both trade off. You know what? I'm gonna go take another walk around, and then we kind of rotate back and forth, or we'd see somebody we know, or we see our buddy Nick who runs the Blues program, stop and talk to him, and it became just to kind of chill. And then as the crowd died down from the season ticket stuff, we walked back through and found stuff that they either decided to throw out the last minute or we'd missed. So it was fun being one of the first in and one of the last out. It was exhausting like hell, but it was fun.
Yeah, we're crazy.
Yeah. But
part of that too is, is talking to people and interacting and, being kind of present in the hobby, at the one point, I think we were both talking about checking out, and then the line was huge. So we were like, okay, this is dumb. Let's just hang out. And then in that process, 5 more people walked by that we wanted to say hello to and wanted to enjoy the hobby with. So, I think that's part of what makes this stuff fun isn't just the stuff, but it's being part of this, the stuff and the moments.
And then
Yeah.
later that night, you see the social media post. Okay, hey everybody, what'd you get? And you see people
Yeah.
posting what they found or weird stuff or cool oddball things like super old pucks or things like that. And it's
Yeah.
even people that may not be or care about the Sabers per se or whatever team the sale's for. It's still cool to look through and go, wow, that's a neat find or whatever, and still be happy for what the people got. And I know it gets rough and tough and some people get upset about it, and it's part of the game, unfortunately. I mean, we've seen it with auctions, we've seen it with all kinds of stuff where people will buy and flip and it happens. There's not, unfortunately, anything we can do about it. It's going to continue to happen, and you just gotta kind of deal with it. And if it's something you need, you may have to pay the extra, or you say nope, not for me, and move on.
Well, and going to the Griffins sale this year, I don't care about Detroit. I don't care about the Griffins, but I was there in town and met up with some friends, and you snag a jersey for $100. I'm like, I don't give a shit about these guys, but it is an opportunity to see like how other collector groups work. You get a chance to maybe snag something that's not necessarily in your collection wheelhouse. I mean, I still can't believe I got a pool and photo match jersey for $100. I mean, it's just you get out of your comfort zone when you're able to see some of these other teams, and it's it's not just about the transaction. It is about kind of building that community and being able to just experience the hobby in real time.
Right.
Yeah, I find myself, not even, the teams that I don't collect when these happen and people post the pictures, I find myself just enthralled and like looking through there and being like, man, that team's got some cool stuff. Or like, I admittedly always have thought Buffalo has incredibly like great jerseys. So you see those pictures and you see that stuff and you're like, oh my God, like, man, if I was collecting that genre of our hobby, holy cow, would I be going off at that event? I think that's part of the fun of it. Mitch and Paul and those guys, the way they cover the shark stuff, you're just like, oh my God, I'd love to get your paws into that day.
Now, Kyle, did you, especially because you listen to past podcasts, you think about reaching out to Buffalo, see if you could get in early and take pictures?
Oh, they probably shot me down real quick on that idea.
Heck, since they're cold calling you about what you're going to buy, maybe next year say, hey, thanks for the cold call, but here's what we want to do. Would you let us in to help document the teams? And I would love to hear more collectors try to do that with different teams and see what kind of response they get.
Yeah.
And show them the podcast or get the link to Paul's photos, because that definitely helps explain what you're trying to do. And it's cool as a documentation thing, because we've seen how the Blues, I've got different years of the Blues equipment sale pictures, how some years it's been massive and other years it's been really kind of small. And we've seen that with some of the other teams too. So it's just one of those things I think is fun to document. Now, how many years have you been going to equipment sales?
This is actually my first one actually going to equipment sale. Just because I told you before, I'm not that into equipment and that kind of stuff, just jerseys. So I just went this year to check it out and help some guys out if I could.
No, and you know what? And that's just a good a reason as any to do it. But with this being your first one, was it what you expected? Was it overwhelming or just kind of insane?
It's probably what I expected. I expected a few more big names in the sticks and some of the jerseys, but other than that, it's pretty much what I expected.
Will you go again?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And again, we think because of some other conversations we've had in the pipeline with people, I think either mid-season a lot of teams will get rid of stuff, or next year you'll see a huge dump of more Adidas related things. So we'll see how that goes. Again, Kyle, thanks for reaching out after we mentioned the sale and wanting to get coverage of it. Appreciate you wanting to come on and tell us, especially it being your first one and a little bit different perspective, and getting there so damn early.
Yeah. Hey, Kyle, let's have a little fun. You know, we kind of been asking people when they come on the show, when did you start collecting? What do you collect?
Yeah, so I probably started collecting back in college about 5 or 6 years ago. Didn't have that much money when I was younger, but I definitely knew that game worn jerseys were out there. And I guess my love for the jerseys came when I started following the team more and I had more time to actually watch all the games. You know, being in high school and playing sports and then going to college, you don't have a lot of time to focus on the Sabers. So you get games here and there. But yeah, as my passion grew for the Sabers, so did my passion for the jerseys.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just collect all Sabres jerseys. No Amerks.
Any particular player, or are you a style collector, a season collector?
I like to collect all from the seasons that I've been a big fan of. So like 2014 until now. I tell myself every year I'm going to slow down a little bit, but
We all say that.
yeah, there's always something. This year is the RJ patch, so I just stack up on those. I already got 7 or 8 of those, so I've been stacking up.
Are you gonna jump into any of the earlier stuff? I see the Danny jersey hanging frame behind you.
Yeah, I've dabbled in those jerseys, and I always find myself either trading those. I don't know what it is.
You're not connected the same way.
Yeah, I would say so.
You know what? And that's a good reason is if you want it from the time frame that you started. I get that. I mean, that's a good and valid way. Plus it's a focus because then you know you've only got so many years and so much time to do it. You don't have to worry about trying to collect guys that going way back that could be really pricey or hard to get a hold of.
Or just not connected to. I mean, part of it is, you know, how you're connected to the stuff you collect. So I think that's really cool that you do it that way. So you do jerseys, and then I know we mentioned you do pucks as well.
Yeah, a little bit of pucks. All the warm-up pucks I've been to the games, I get a puck from there. What else do I have?
Did you get an 0708 puck?
Yeah, I got one of those.
Just because.
Yeah, just a few random pucks here and there.
Nice.
Favorite jersey you've got?
That's a tough one. Right now it would have to be the Darlene Goathead from last year, the Adidas one.
Very cool.
I can see that.
Close second would be the Reinhardt debut I have, the actual debut jersey. So that's a cool one. I'm surprised that one popped up the way it did. Yeah, those are probably my top 2 right now.
Very cool.
And Buffalo only does their sales through NHL auctions, don't they?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so they don't do anything in store or at the arena at all.
Nope, just through NHL auctions. Yeah.
Years ago, they did do some in-store stuff, right? Like leftover game issued and some stuff.
Yeah.
They've given them, I think, a couple of
vendors.
Well invested collectors have bought in bulk over the years, which I was a little surprised they didn't do again with some of the game issued and like rookie camp jerseys, like regular jerseys. The lack of standard player issue jerseys in this one throws me off because they couldn't have sold all of the all the backups and all the game issues. I mean, there's right, Kyle. There's got to be like a bunch sitting.
Oh, did you see Phil's post? I guess they sold them all to Quick Jerseys or whatever it's called on eBay.
Oh, Croc.
So yeah.
Did they really like all the game, like the cheap game issued stuff? Is that where they went?
Just like the practice stuff he posted a picture of. Yeah.
So maybe we'll see them trickle out in the hobby.
We shall see. And again, if the price is right, they'll go.
I'm not complaining about a $50 practice jersey.
No, nope. I had one of our good buddies, a friend of the show, a friend of the St. Louis Expo, happened to be out there and picked up he knew I liked, because I bought some from before, Buffalo goalie practice jerseys, happened to pick one up, said, if you want it, it'll be in St. Louis in October for you. So I'm not going to complain.
Good to have friends.
So, hey, you know what? And again, that's part of going back to the people part of this is you connect. They know you may be interested in something. And he's like, hey, you know what? If you don't want it, fine. He's like, I know I can easily sell it. So I do appreciate the friendship and him thinking, hey, I sold him one. He might be interested in another one, and he was, and definitely will, because it is sharp. I just love that. I love the Buffalo style. Down the road, who knows? I may pick up one just because those look such a nice looking jersey.
And this is going to make me the enemy of 31 other teams. But having lived up in that part of the country, there is no more deserving fan base of a long playoff run than Sabres fans. I may not always see eye to eye with Sabres collectors, but the fandom deserves. Y'all deserve a cup at some point. I'm sorry. I'm not this. I'm not a Sabres fan. But if there's a hockey god, you need to get at least a conference final in the next few years. It's a level of depression that I have seen with some fans, with Sabres fans. I don't think other teams have it quite at the level that Sabres fans. My heart bleeds every time I think about them missing the playoffs. Blues fans have nothing to complain about. Bruins fans, nothing to complain about. Basically, no one can complain if you're not a Sabres fan. That is my hot take for the night.
There it is.
Yeah, that's a solid one for sure, Justin. Yeah, the only Saber stuff I own, and of all places found it through Goodwill. I have several coaches bags, one of which even has when they did I think it was one of the first outdoor games, but it's Lindy Ruff's coach's bag. It has the big plastic nameplate in it, the whole bit, and very sharp. But all the patches, the logos are sewn on. They're definitely nice looking bags. So
Where'd you find that one?
Goodwill.
Yeah, where?
One of ones up by you.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he donated them or the team did, but they showed up all together. So I was happy to pick those up. Anything else you want to throw in here, Kyle, before we wrap this up?
No, I can't think of anything right now. It's been a blast, guys. I appreciate the time, and I look forward to your podcast every Friday when the notification comes through on my phone. It gives me something to look forward to. Play at work when I'm doing stuff, but yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey, we appreciate the support, and we do. Like I say, I've had people reach out. They're driving into work because they know it's their Friday morning, or listen to it while they're at their desk. But we appreciate however anybody listens. I get notifications. We've had some new subscribers on YouTube this week, so like it, subscribe it, rate it wherever you do get it from. But we appreciate the support. Unsure if we're doing a show next week. I may have scheduling conflicts, so I'm trying to sort that out now. I know we're going to continue to lock in some guests coming up, so it'll be the clock's running. We're just around the corner from training camp. That's insane.
It's wild. It's gonna be fun.
So just over a month?
Yeah, I mean, so think about this. Training camp happens. We're going to see the debut of the Fanatics rebranded practice jerseys. So right off the bat, that's going to be exciting. They're going to have a sewn on crest again for the first time in, was it 9 years that Adidas did the NHL? Was it 14-15 or 15-16 they took over? So
I think it was 15-16, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so we'll see our first run of crested practice jerseys soon, and then we'll have a lot to talk about whenever they start wearing those Fanatics jerseys and we get a real good look at them.
As teams put them in their stores and we can get our hands on them a little bit. I know a great, I may have to reach out to these guys at some point. I would like to have them on. I know they don't cover game worn stuff directly, but their inside information has been helpful to us as aesthetics. They're if you've not seen them on YouTube, go like them and watch some of their stuff. Their coverage of the switchover and news and stuff that they had. I've referenced some of that on our past podcasts, so definitely give them a watch. They have a lot of good information. Great. They had a lot of good practice details when those first got leaked out. So, Wade, any final thoughts from you?
No, just you got me excited thinking about hockey coming up pretty quick. Kyle, thanks for coming on. It's really a pleasure to always interact and get another view, and then hear about how somebody got their collecting started. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me again.
Justin, any final thoughts from you?
Nice chatting with you, Kyle. Thanks for joining us. Doc, thanks for bringing me back from the depths. It's nice to polish off my podcast skills after being dormant most of the summer.
Well, I mean, it is North Dakota. What the hell else is there to do?
We've missed you, Justin.
Yes. Welcome back, sir. On that note, we will see you back either next week or the week after, depending on some scheduling things, and we will see you soon. Kyle, again, thank you for coming on. You're welcome anytime.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.